in Sao Paulo. We have Pedro Vieira up against Tord Reklev. Now, those of you at home, Tord Reklev, the champion just last year here in Sao Paulo, finally completing that gauntlet of all those IC titles, hoping to do it again. And one of my favorite stats about Tord is I think he has a better odds of top 8ing in IC than most people have at day 2ing.
Yeah, that's like, if you make it all the way to the top 8 at an IC, odds are more favorable that you will be seeing Tord as well up there, which is truly incredible. Truly incredible. The level of consistency that he has at these tournaments is just outstanding.
And then, of course, you got a quick glimpse of those decks as well. Pedro is going to be playing Lugia, V-Star, Archeops, and Tord, of course, deciding, I'm going to draw a bunch of cards, playing that Gardevoir EX, and is using that Screamtail inclusion.
Indeed, we've talked a lot about that Screamtail, and we will probably be seeing it in action in this match, along with the Luxurious Cape, along with Avery. Yeah, so this new era Gardevoir EX. However, look at those prizes. 2 Gardevoir EX in the prize cards to start us off.
That is not good. To go along with a Ralts and that Zacian V. Meanwhile, for Pedro, nothing too bad. Archeops, a couple energies that might be able to hurt him a little bit later, but we'll have to see how things go. But wow, double Gardevoir EX in the prize cards. At least one of them's down close to the bottom.
Yeah.
Maybe you can work in some reversal energy shenanigans to be able to take a knockout, grab that Gardevoir EX right when you need it.
Indeed, those reversal energies will have to come in clutch. Maybe some lucky Shining Arcana hits as well. And we'll have to see how quickly Tord figures out that both Gardevoir EXs are in the prize cards. I know he's very thorough with his price checks and whatnot, but I feel like you usually check for Ralts, you check for Kirlias, you check for energies perhaps. Not necessarily the Gardevoir EXs immediately, but we'll have to see. And this also might prompt an early concession if Pedro gets too far ahead by the time Tord is able to take a prize card.
And here we go. Round 2 of our Swiss here today in Sao Paulo. Tord is going to start things. Looks like it's switched a little bit. So it is going to be Pedro on the right, Tord on the left here. And Mew EX in the active spot. Mezagoza gets the heads, finds the Lugia V. And that's step number 1 for a deck like Lugia.
Yeah, you have one mission as Lugia, and that is bench a Lugia, right? You pull that off, then you are good to go. And we're seeing at the top the names are indeed the other. I was a little confused. I was like, wait, Mew EX in Guardy and Mew in Lugia? I was a little confused at first.
So double turbo energy to end things on that Lugia V for Pedro. Now it's Tord's turn. Has that Mew in the active spot. Probably the best starter for Gardevoir, especially for Tord, and is starting things off with a Fog Crystal. This will allow to search the deck for a Psychic Energy or a basic Psychic Pokemon. And the name of the game, get as many Ralts down as possible. You do have option to Mirage Step with Kirlia to cheat out a bunch of Kirlia in play, but it also just depends on your hand, the setup, if your opponent's able to get early prize cards.
Starting to note a little bit of an urgency in Tord's deck search here, which might signify that he's realizing, uh-oh, 2 Gardevoir EXs are no longer available to me. What is the plan?
All right, looks like we are all set with the names there. They are right now. Tord on the right, Pedro on the left. And honestly, it's got to be somewhat scary to win your round 1, and then all of a sudden you get paired against last year's champion.
Yep.
One of the best players in the game right now.
Yep, one of the best players, not only right now, I think in history, right? What Tord has achieved is truly impressive and probably very difficult to not even like replicate, but even come close to, right? 4 IC titles, 1 in each region. We do have players who have accomplished back-to-back titles in the same region. Stefan Ivanov has won back-to-back NAICs. Kawada has won back-to-back EUICs. Azul Garcia Grego has 2 different titles and a 2nd place as well, but no player is close yet to what Tord has achieved so far.
And of course, not only that, coming off a 2nd place at the World Championships in Yokohama just a few months ago.
Top of that, yeah, the sprinkling of.
Yeah. So with the Fog Crystal, does find a Pokemon, and then there is that Battle VIP pass off Mysterious Tail, and Tord right away finding those Ralts and that Radiant Greninja, hoping to draw a few more cards here, dig through the deck, and that's really the first few turns of this Gardevoir deck. You're just trying to discard a bunch of energies, draw a bunch of cards, hope to get set up for that turn 3.
I'm really wondering what Tord's plan is here. As long as he has already figured out that both Gardevoir EXs are not available, like, what is your break point in terms of like, you know what, I'm too far behind, I cannot catch up, or I'm still in this, right? Because every energy you discard, there's one of the triple energies and the Gardevoir as well. So Wonder Candy could allow Tord to be aggressive, and combined with a counter catcher could go after an Arceus, hopefully free one of those Gardevoir EXs. There's the attachment. Risky attachment though, a boss away from basically eliminating Tord's chances to draw an early prize card.
Well, we do see a boss's orders off the top as well. Mezagoza flip gets the tails, so not able to search for a Pokemon. And I guess the one thing Tord is thinking is, well, my opponent doesn't have Archeops in the discard.
Yep.
The best way to get those in the discard is something like a Professor Burnett. And if you're using a Professor Burnett, you're not going to be able to use that boss's orders. And here we see Luminion V, its ability, Luminous Sign, able to search your deck for a supporter card, put it in your hand. I think we're going to see a Burnett, especially if there's a V-Star in Pedro's hand.
Certainly, and that made the Mesagoza flip even more important, because if Pedro had flipped heads, he'd be set. He would have been able to go grab the Lugia V-Star, get the Professor Burnett with Luminion, and perhaps not chase down that Ralts with the energy, but would have been able to initiate the prize trade in his favor. Now, not a big threat from Tord at this point in time, especially if Pedro does not take a prize card this turn. So no need to bench a second Lugia to be careful or anything like that. Could even read the wind comfortably in this spot to get more resources and hopefully find a Lugia V-Star before having to research this hand away to find it and potentially play the boss's orders next turn.
Yeah, this is definitely an awkward hand here. Just going to have to finish with an attachment of that reversal energy. Not going to be able to add extra energy if Pedro is behind in prize cards, but there's just to read the wind, discards that Mesagoza to draw 3 cards.
Not a fan of that Mesagoza discard, because if the current Mesagoza gets discarded, Mesagoza was your best bet, a 50% chance at finding the Lugia V-Star. However, now over to Tord. We should see him try to set up maybe with a Mirage Step, though that is risky. Actually, there's no possibility of Mirage Step because we can't attach 2 energies to set up.
Well, there is the concealed cards, and then Refinement grabs another Kirlia off the top, decides for Mysterious Tail before evolving into that second Kirlia, finds a Battle VIP pass, won't be able to use that, but can discard it with Refinement.
Interesting choice on the Battle VIP pass. There was a counter catcher there, and assuming next turn your Mew gets KO'd or your Kirlia is able to survive, counter catcher plus the Shiny Arcana Gardevoir plus the Reversal Energy was a knockout on an upcoming Arceus. Or if you find an energy, you could knock out Mew EX as well.
Well, there is another counter catcher in Tord's hand, so I guess you at least have that, along with a boss's orders.
Oh, it's a blingy one. That's why I didn't recognize it.
Tails on the Mesagoza. Tord does have the option for Collapse Stadium as well. A couple of those in hand, but eyeing down them to discard with Ultra Ball instead.
Discarding that Scream Tail, however, as well, eyeing that down for the discard, so we could see the Scream Tail just not factor into this game, which, honestly, I'd be very surprised if this game goes on for a long time overall.
Especially with the pace that Tord is playing. Seeing a both Gardevoir EX in the prize cards means this game will kind of take a little bit longer, and it is good to see Tord really just upping the pace here, knowing that there potentially could be 3 games.
Yep, and now do see a collapse stadium hit play, meaning no Mesagosa, meaning Pedro will not be able to find a Lugia V-Star, plus a boss play on one of the only two Kirlias. Could go for a knockout still with the Jet Energy. No need to set up, but now it would be risky, right? You don't know exactly what your opponent has. Definitely eyeing that play up. I like this aggression, though. With only one Kirlia left, very few energies in the discard pile. What's Tord's best answer? Maybe Screen Tail with a Luxurious Cape and enough energy, but there aren't a lot of energy.
You don't have the Gardevoir EX either.
Yeah, exactly. But, I mean, from Pedro's perspective, he definitely doesn't know that.
Well, there is that knockout. Arrow Dive opts not to discard the stadium, but takes the knockout on that Kirlia with the reversal energy, and Tord is really having to think about just how to navigate this game.
If I'm Tord, I need to scoop at this point in time. Finds an energy, does decide to attach it, but you're down one reversal. You only have access to one reversal. You have no other Ralts in play. One Ralt is also prized. How? How do you pull this off? And yes, one Gardevoir EX is at the bottom. That's what you're counting on, but which prize do you take, the right or the left one? Because I don't think he'll be able to have enough to get a full KO here. Like, finding the other reversal energy should be very difficult.
And honestly, won't even have a way to get out of the active spot
This
if
turn.
he finds the reversal energy, because Gardevoir not really known for playing any switch outs and things like that. There is a new supporter, Professor Turo's Scenario, or Professor Turo's Scenario, able to just pick up a Pokemon, but Tord opting not to play it for this weekend. Does find the reversal energy, and honestly would have had the KO on Lugia V if this Gardevoir was in the active spot.
Would he though? Wouldn't he be short a few energies to 20 damage?
No, yeah, so the reversal is 90. No, yeah, would be short, yeah.
Yeah, would be 2 energy short. Would have had a knockout potential on Arceus, but there aren't even any Arceus in play for Tord to knock out. And Pedro did draw an Ultra Ball off this Iono, so Pedro will finally have their full setup, but they accomplished a turn to knockout in a very safe manner. I really like that aggression from Pedro, and Tord definitely against the ropes right here. So we'll have to see what else he can do this. We do see another attachment. There is a counter catcher in hand along with a reversal. We'll have to see.
Boss's orders off the top of the deck.
Top deck. Wow.
Now, with an Ultra Ball in hand as well.
Yep. I think we're going to see. I mean, actually eyeing up the Mew EX play onto the Radiant Greninja as well. That is an option that Pedro has to eliminate the Ralts and the Screamtail or the Mew. However, knocking out your opponent's only Gardevoir in play when they only have a Ralts left over, I think that's way too strong not to do.
Yeah, exactly. There's already a Kirlia down as well.
Yep.
Can't use the Summoning Star
Only
for max benefit. Yeah, and that's where
Snorlax.
That's where not discarding the stadium the turn prior with Arrow Dive is going to hurt Pedro here. But even so, the way the board is set up, the way the game has gone so far, and with Tord's prize cards, it is still overwhelmingly favored for Pedro here.
Indeed, though that is a very small but important mistake to have made, not setting up your full board with the double Arceus. That Snorlax isn't even getting powered up. We can see Pedro not too happy with his mistake, being a little careless there with the collapsed stadium. So this could factor in. Now Tord has the possibility to go after the Arceus. We see the boss's orders onto the Gardevoir, and we're going to see the knockout. I really like this, and I'm having a lot of trouble seeing how Tord comes back from this with Gardevoir gone, one Ralt in play, one reversal energy available, still not able to attack this turn. I don't know what the plan is here. I really can't see it.
Yeah, having the reversal and rare candy in hand is definitely a little bit awkward here, with the only supporter cards being Iono and Professor's Research. And bringing the Mew to the active spot again just means that it's going to be even harder to attack this turn again. That means Pedro's going to be going up 3 prize cards towards 0 so far. in this game one. And like you were saying before, I really do think Tord just needs to concede this game, go to the next one.
Agreed. Now, the one small ray of hope is the fact that Pedro only has one Archeops in play at this point, so maybe that will allow Tord to pull off something. And there's also 2 bosses orders now gone, right? So that last Kirlia must be a little safer than before. However, it is going to be very difficult to even get a single knockout at this point. If Pedro ends up playing an Iono, takes away that reversal energy, and is also up 3 prizes, that's a really hard spot to come back from.
Yeah, and even with that, if Tord does take a knockout, it's going to be a 1 in 6 or 2 in 6 chance to try to find that Gardevoir EX to just continue knockouts, because you know that Gardevoir is most likely going to get knocked out coming back into his turn.
We see the reversal energy getting attached. Top deck Iono. So very nice attachment by Tord, evaluating or assessing the risk of a 3rd boss's orders back to back taking place is very low, and finding that reversal energy afterwards will be very difficult. But this Lugia is definitely going to take 4 prizes this game. It's going to take 1 now, and then whatever Tord does, that Lugia V-Star is 100% out of range. So gonna be interesting to see. I think the odds of Tord winning this game are lower than finding a shiny Pokemon, a shiny legendary Pokemon. I just cannot see it.
With the Capturing Aroma heads, does find an evolution Pokemon. Just thin the deck out a little bit more. We're gonna see the Primal Turbo. Be able to search the deck, attach 2 special energies to one of your Pokemon. And that's not a very good hand. But has everything on the board, able to really just continue this game.
Now, something I want to note is how Pedro is definitely going through the motions. We did see that small mistake from the Collapse Stadium, and usually when you're using your Archeop's ability, like declaring it essentially, and then thinking about where you're going to attach the energies, that's usually an indicator that you're using the ability because you can, not necessarily because you need to. Establishing more threads is very important for Pedro now that he's limited to 1 Arceus, but it's important to try and figure out exactly what you want to search for, because you know your deck and you can attach the energies anywhere you want, so that there's a little bit more fluidity to your game in that sense.
3rd energy down on that Mew EX on the bench, and then there's the knockout from Lugia V-Star. Pedro going down to 3 prize cards now. Tord's hand, though, is good enough for this turn. There's that Shining Arcana Gardevoir. There's a Refinement Kirlia. Has the Ultra Ball here, is able to search for... I think all the Pokemon are in the prize cards. All right, Mirage Step Kirlia there.
Now, if Pedro didn't know that Tord didn't have access to any Gardevoir EXs, now he definitely knows. There's no reason to throw away a Rare Candy with an Ultra Ball unless you're gonna use another Rare Candy to go into Gardevoir EX. No Gardevoir EX here. And, I mean, trying to play the single prize game, sure, but you're 3 prizes behind. Yeah, you need to get a knockout. Does find the Counter Catcher, though.
Counter Catcher. Here's discarding of the Rare Candy with Refinement. Counter Catcher brings up the Archeops. Tord will be able to take a knockout here.
50-50. 50-50 on the prize card.
He got it!
Get the Gardevoir EX.
There's a little bit of play left for Tord, but at what cost? It is now just under 34 minutes left in the round here. We play 50-minute rounds here for Swiss. Trying to fit 3 games into that is pretty difficult to do, but this format has sped up a little bit. But Gardevoir, still one of those decks that likes to take its time.
Now this is where that second Arceus not hitting play could be very problematic for Pedro. His attacks are now very limited. I don't even like that benching of the Snorlax, because if for some reason you can't power it up, all of a sudden Screamtail can become a threat and can destroy your bench. So saving that jet energy is going to be super, super crucial for Pedro. Attaching to a Snorlax, but just because you can play a card doesn't mean you have to. And now this Snorlax waking up is not gonna be easy. It's rough. Yeah, things could get a little bit tricky when Pedro had such a big advantage here.
Does gift energy work on the
Tord
bench?
has very limited amount of cards left in deck, but finally that Gardevoir EX available to hit play.
For sure, Tord's double checking on whether if he knocks out the Mew on the bench with Screamtail, will the gift energy activate or not? I would imagine that's the only reason to ask the judge on whether the gift energy will activate. I don't believe, no, I do believe it will.
It should.
It activates whenever a Pokemon is knocked out by damage. Doesn't matter if it's in the active or on the bench, as we see it on the screen, confirming that. So, an important thing to note, right, in terms of who you target for Tord.
Level Ball will fail the search here. Again, just trying to see what resources he has left for these next 2 turns. Pedro only has 2 prize cards left to take here. And of course, Gardevoir EX, with its ability, damages your own Pokemon. So most of the time, Psychic Embrace is going to put them close to a knockout themselves.
Now, one very important thing to note, with no more Arceus on Pedro's side of the field, once this Kirlia becomes Gardevoir EX, nothing on Pedro's side of the board will be able to take a knockout on that Gardevoir. So that pretty much guarantees Tord a safe turn in terms of being able to attack, as we see that Gardevoir EX. Next turn, he can power up the Screamtail and try to trap a Snorlax in the active. I think that's definitely Tord's plan at this point in time, and I am generally seeing a window where Screamtail is able to take down this Lugia, take down this Mew after the Gardevoir takes down the Snorlax with the Luxurious Cape attached, depending on what Pedro does this turn. He has 2 ways to wake up the Snorlax, with Jet Energy or with the Therapeutic Energy, pardon me. But will that be enough? Because this upcoming turn, Pedro is not taking a knockout unless he top deck spots his orders.
I'm not sure if I like the Luxurious Cape play here, just because it definitely opens a route of victory for Pedro the following turn. You were just saying that he can't knock out the Gardevoir EX in 1 hit, but one thing you can is Screamtail that gives you 2 prize cards.
Yeah, indeed, for sure. But Tord is at 5 prizes, so taking 2 prizes or 1 prize this turn doesn't really change things much for him. So I definitely love to see the Gardevoir EX attack this turn. We do see the Iono, right? So I guess that's another option. Iono your opponent down to 2, use Screamtail to knock out the Lugia. But as you mentioned, yeah, that opens up the win for Pedro if he finds a Jet Energy. Well, I guess it's only Jet Energy.
Yeah, Jet Energy and the Therapeutic Energy hit the bottom of the deck with that Iono now. So just 2 less cards that would be very beneficial here. And there we see 7 energy on that Screamtail, 140 damage. That means it's dealing 280 damage to anyone. I believe that Lugia V-Star is going to get knocked out pretty soon here. No gift energy attached there, so that Iono will hopefully stick.
This is where it's been a series of unfortunate events for Pedro not getting that second. If you have the second Arceus out, you win, right?
Yeah.
You just power up the active and you're good to go. Now that Snorlax is trapped in the active, 1 Jet Energy went to the bottom of the deck. Screamtail is going to knock out the Lugia right here. Can also target down the Luminion. No, the Pokemon does not get switched. The damage was on the bench. That does not happen. So now...
Oh, all right. Ultra Ball found in the cards with Iono. Yep. And so with the draw for turn, you're able to use that, find Lumineon V, grab a supporter, but you need to find something like a Professor's Research here, hope to hit a Jet Energy, and that should seal the game for Pedro here, but it's going to have to rely off the top of the deck.
Yep, there's the Luminion. There should be Professor's Research available. Buzz, not the game-winning card at this point in time, and we'll have to see. Can Pedro find one of the 2, I believe, Jet Energies left in the deck? Does play 4, so maximum chances of getting out of this sticky situation. Once again, we're in this position because the Collapse Stadium didn't get removed, and then the Snorlax got benched preemptively.
And the Gardevoir EX just being in the prize cards. No Jet Energy here for Pedro off this fresh hand of 7. And honestly, not much you can really do here.
nothing else. Literally no card is able to be played other than the Stadium, which you really get no benefit out of. And with no Arcubes in play, nothing to do other than pass. I would love to see a faster pass.
Can't even thin out the hand just to make gift energy a little bit better here.
Yeah, there's a Nest Ball you can burn, the Stadium, the Collapse Stadium you can play, but Tord's definitely not going to activate another Jet Energy. I think Tord plays Iono once again. However, well, maybe you don't Iono, because you know your opponent doesn't have a Jet Energy in their hand, right? So if you Iono them, you're getting them closer to the Jet Energy. However, Pedro is holding a bunch of cards, and one of those is another Professor's Research. So that could be something that Tord factors into the decision whether to Iono or not. I would just stick with no Iono, but we'll have to see what Tord chooses here.
And with either knockout that Tord decides to take, you can target down the Snorlax. That's the one that can actually take a knockout on the Screamtail. Mew could copy Screamtail's attack, but that won't be enough.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, Slap does 30, and you have, what, 50 HP remaining?
Yeah, indeed. So it would not be enough. Genome hacking, no matter how good it is, would not be enough. And there's the Iono. So, oof. How does Pedro win from this point? Jet Energy plus Boss's Orders. I think that's it, right? That's it.
Well, so
combination?
It depends, because Tord could just ignore the gift energies
now
already, but wow, okay.
The Jet Energy. I feel like if you were committed to Iono, you're not going to activate the Jet Energy. Right?
The gift energy, yeah.
The gift energy, sorry.
And that's the thing, right? But if you take out the Snorlax with the energy, that's the one attacker that can win the game right away. Because even if Pedro has like a Boss's Order, or I guess Boss's Orders would do it too.
Yeah, Boss
bring
plus
up the
Jet,
Greninja.
right?
Yeah,
Boss plus Jet. However, this is really good. Nothing can take down the Gardevoir EX, so now Jet doesn't work. Now it's down to only Boss's Orders, and you didn't activate the gift. There you go. Perfect solution by Tord, and then you just close out the game next turn with your Screamtail. Very simple, very straightforward. Tord figuring out exactly how to win this game with no Gardevoir EX available.
I guess we're eating our words here.
We are.
If anyone is able to come back from the start that Tord has had this game one, it would be Tord.
Absolutely. Tord, a fantastic player here. Fantastic determination, fantastic resilience to stick this one out in order to find the game-winning scenario.
Wow.
And there we go, Tord Reklev pulling this off against all odds.
What a game to start our round two here in Sao Paulo. Tord Reklev, our defending LAIC champion, figuring out just the perfect way to win the game. And it was all off the back of the one prize card taken like turn 5. And it just happened to be that one of those two Gardevoir EX.
I would say like that was definitely one of the instances that helped Tord, right?
Yeah.
The other one was only one Arcube, so I cannot emphasize how much that mattered. Pedro got a little bit ahead of himself. Even discarding the Stadium was not crucial, but over benching, getting that eagerness, benching that Snorlax preemptively before you use your ability, like even the sequencing of that, if you just do it in V-Star first, yeah, you try to bench the Snorlax, oh, that's the one Pokemon that doesn't fit. Then Tord would have never been able to stick a Pokemon active like he did and be able to play around the gift energies, be able to eliminate the threat of the Lugia V-Star and turn over an almost impossible to win game.
I mean, we were saying here, it looked pretty impossible to us, but Tord finding a way out, and now in very much the advantageous position here. 25 minutes or less left on the clock for this round two. Already up one game, and both of these decks have a lot of decision making to do with each turn. A lot of shuffling and a lot of just card drawing from Tord's side of things.
Now, if you're Tord, I think you're definitely feeling good, not only in the fashion you won, the decisions you made, but also the chance of prizing to Gardevoir EX is so low, right? I feel like it's close to 1 in 100 games. and feels like, okay, you got that out of the way already this weekend. Let's go. No more, no more of that happening.
And of course, here is the replay from game one. Both players had a pretty slow start to get things going. You have Pedro read the wind toward bosses up the Luminion for a little bit of stalling. Then Pedro bosses up that Curlia with the reversal, takes the knockout, but there was the no discard of the stadium. Tord able to get set up, but there you see Pedro benching that Snorlax, then using the Summoning Star, but only getting one Archeops out. And while Pedro was continuing to take knockouts again and again, wasn't really beneficial, and Tord able to clear it out with Screamtail.
Now we see a bunch of energies prized for Pedro along with a Luxray, which can be a good attacker and a boss. And we see a Ralts and a Kirlia prize, but no Gardevoir EX. So I think Tord will play this one a lot more straightforward, right? Now he has all the tools he needs to be able to keep up with the attacks. No need to get fancy with your counter catchers, trying to stick something active. And I'm sure Pedro will be extra careful when figuring out the sequencing of his decisions this time around.
So we have already had a couple, our turn now, and it's been a bad one. Pedro attached a Gift Energy and passed with a Weirdeer V in play. When you're playing a Lugia V-Star Archeops deck, you kind of need the Lugia V in play.
That's a pretty important part of the Lugia V-Star deck. Indeed. You have one goal on turn one, and that is the bare minimum, which is bench a Lugia V. Fortunately, Pedro's hand not very permissive to that, and Tord just flying through his hand now. A much stronger start than before.
Yeah, already has the Fog Crystal, finds a second Ralts. Ultra Ball discards 2 Psychic Energies to find that Radiant Greninja with a third one about to hit the discard for Concealed Cards.
Yeah, Concealed Cards, a fantastic ability. Already 3 energies in the discard pile. We could see a turn 2 win now but for Tord, depending on what Pedro's hand is looking like. By a Rare Candy Gardevoir EX, Screamtail, or Sasha V somehow. But seems like Pedro does have a playable hand, just not a great turn 1 hand.
Capturing Aroma does get the tails, so that will allow Pedro to search for a basic Pokemon. And I believe we're going to find a Lugia V here. I don't know about you, Pablo.
Yeah, I would expect a Lugia V for sure. And now Pedro's board not looking too bad now. Can attach a double turbo to Weirdeer if he finds it. Can get a turn to KO, which is your goal, right? Sure, you would have loved to bench the Lugia V, but in the end, by benching Lugia V on turn 1 and getting Lugia V started on turn 2, what do you want to accomplish? A turn 2 knockout. Psy Shield Bash with a double turbo can certainly do that. However, we see the attachment on the Lugia V in order to perhaps get ready for a Read the Wind. I feel like we should definitely be seeing a Professor's Research beforehand, but no supporter being played by Pedro. Very surprising.
Surprising indeed. 3 cards drawn off Read the Wind. Does find another Professor's Research along with that Lugia V-Star. Tord, though, starting things off with that Kirlia evolvement on the bench. Energy to the active Ralts and then an Iono. So the cards that Pedro just found get shuffled to the bottom of the deck. And Tord finds, wow, a couple Battle VIP pass here. Those are going to get discarded.
Now, some bad news for Pedro, as he did have 3 Professor's Research in his previous hand, and now they're all at the bottom of the deck, while Tord now has the option to Mirage Step with his own Kirlia, get the other Kirlias into play. However, it seems like he's not going to opt for that, or maybe he is, yeah, eyeing up both Kirlias and one of them being prized still.
Yeah, one of them prized, one of them in play already. He did attach the energy to the active, kind of in preparation for this, or even just a retreat to something like a Mew maybe, but Mew is prized.
Now, one big thing that makes this Mirage Step play so powerful is you get your Kirlias and you also have Ralts that you can then Rare Candy into the Gardevoirs. But Tord running a little bit lower on those resources and not able to find a Ralts to Rare Candy into. So if you use Mirage Step to get one Kirlia and then you lose your Mirage Step, the end result is not as advantageous as you would like it to be.
Luminion V drawn for Pedro off the top of the deck. Didn't really get a good glimpse at the hand after Iono.
There is an Ultra Ball there, so Pedro will be able to power up. However, preemptively benching once again, which cost him dearly last time. No Collapse Stadium this time around, but You want to be careful with doing things in the right order. No reason to bench that Snorlax until you absolutely have to.
Ultra Ball does discard the second Archeops for Pedro here. Along with the Mezagoza, we'll be able to find Lugia V-Star and get that Summoning Star up and running and get those Archeops in play so you can get those Primal Turbos set and ready.
Pedro does have an interesting decision to make here, is holding the Luminion, which could get played for a boss's order. However, that's usually something. Wait.
Oh.
Professor
Burnett.
There's already 2 Archeops in the discard pile. So
we're just going for 4. That's good.
Now there's a liability of the Luminion on the bench. Definitely not ideal, but it's what we have.
For a second, I thought he passed, and I was really scared.
No.
Lugia V-Star evolved into the active. Summoning Star brings those Archeops out to the bench, and this is where Lugia as a deck shines, being able to just attach up to 4 energy per turn. You can really try to overwhelm your opponent here.
I'm sure we're going to see an adaptation from the first game by attaching a gift energy to the Lugia. That also would have been something that would have helped Pedro a bunch the previous game. We're going to see the V-Guard. Actually, we skipped one of the gifts. Well, running low on the energies. The prizes, there were quite a few energies on the prizes,
2.
Right? I believe there was 3.
No, there's 1
energies.
Yeah,
one gift, one
gift.
jet, 1 double turbo. Yep, there we go. 1 gift, 1 jet, 1 double turbo. Along with that boss's order is very crucial. I would have loved to see that Luminion fetch Research, an Iono, even a boss's orders to eliminate a Refinement Kirlia would have been definitely better than that Professor Burnett that we did see.
Well, there is the knockout with Tempest Dive, and Tord promoting the Screamtail here. Handful of supporters.
Screamtail, without the Luxurious Cape, can take down an Archeops, but that's pretty much it. We do see a very, very powerful research here, discarding a lot of stuff, but a lot of stuff that Tord probably doesn't need anymore at this point. Finds a bunch of energies, finds the Gardevoir EX. The Luxurious Cape is the key piece here that he did draw in order to potentially knock out this Lugia V-Star, and you can trade, right? You can trade 2 prizes on the Lugia V-Star right now with your Screamtail, then use Sasha to take another 2 prizes perhaps along the way, and then finish off that Luminion or the Weirdier. Yeah, I feel like that's what Tord is probably planning at this point in time. Just going 2-2-2 on the prize cards, and they're definitely in play right here.
And plenty of energy in the discard for Tord. I think I counted 7. Uses the last refinement here. Level Ball can find something like a Ralts if it's still available.
Yep. There's the last Ralts available for now. But things are looking very different for Tord this game, right? Much more stable setup. Has access to a Gardevoir EX, which is kind of the theme of the deck. We were talking about how Lugia really enjoys having a Lugia in play. Gardevoir decks really enjoy being able to use Psychic Embrace.
And there we see Gardevoir EX getting evolved on the Kirlia without the Ralts under it.
4 energies in the discard pile right now. That's going to be 160 damage to a Pokemon so far. Where does that damage go? Where did you see those 7 energies?
Well, they're in the discard, but there's no, he didn't play the cape down, so you can't attach more of them.
Right, yeah, no, of course. So not going for the 2-2-2, just going to eliminate an Archeops. Definitely worked out well last time around, but now there's a second Archeops that Tord has to deal with before trying to trap something in the active spot.
Yeah, see the 3 Psychic on the bottom of the discard for Tord there.
Yep.
And did have the option for the Luxurious Cape in hand, but again, you're giving up 2 easy prize cards to your opponent the following turn.
I agree. I mean, but sometimes it returns. Now, Tord did win game 1, so no need to rush the win, right? You can win, you can not finish this game, and you're still ending up as a winner.
Yeah, the way this works for our best of 3 is if there is time being called while game 2 is still being played, you get to play plus 3 turns with the active turn finishing. So technically 4 turns left in the game. If the game does not conclude, the winner of game 1 will win the match. But if we're in game 3 and that same scenario happens, it will be a tie.
Indeed. And as we see the Screamtail get re-found, we might be seeing the Screamtail now take down this other Archeops to really limit what Pedro can do this game in terms of attacking options. And with no more Archeops, that means Gardevoir EX is pretty safe from a Drapion getting KO'd, so then you can use Gardevoir EX pretty safely as a way to knock out Luminion or Snorlax. So really good strategic play here by toward Reklev.
Does promote that Screamtail, so
it is
just rinse and repeat here. First, we're going to rare candy to a second Gardevoir EX.
We are also seeing a much more powerful board this time around. This is the first time we're seeing 4 Ralts or 4 Guardy lines, right, in play. We're going to see the Screamtail roaring scream against that Archeops once again, I would imagine.
Reversal energy on that bench Curlia. Setting up for a future Shining Arcana Gardevoir. And there is that roaring scream taking the knockout yet again on Archeops. Now Pedro is pretty much playing with the energy that is in play. No surprise Drapion V to take the knockout on Gardevoir EX later on in the game.
Tord definitely going for the safest route here, not risking any 2-price Pokemon, not risking the Luxurious Escape, saving that for later, eyeing up a knockout on the Lugia with the Shining Arcana Gardevoir, putting him down to 2 prizes, and then probably finishing off the game with a Boss's Hoarders onto the Weird Ear or Luminion as he draws his whole deck.
Refinement discards the Manaphy. 2 more cards. Does find the Gardevoir. So we'll be able to have a great response here. Shining Arcana finds the Super Rod, and the Super Rod is really how Tord is going to close out this game. Shuffle back in that Screamtail yet again.
Yep. 3 roaring scream attacks in a single game. And we were talking about how older decks got upgrades, right? I think a lot of people were thinking that Gardevoir was not going to be seeing a lot of play. And here we are seeing how Gardevoir can continue to adapt, how powerful it is, and how much Screamtail is helping this deck now.
Even Super Rodding back in energy. I don't know if I've seen that too many times. 2 energies for this Gardevoir. 6 in the discard. That's more than enough to help take the knockout on this Lugia V-Star in the active spot.
So double checking to make sure that he has enough energy left over to knock out the Lugia V-Star. 208 HP, that does mean the Gardevoir, the Shining Arcana Gardevoir needs 8 total energy. Reversal energy does provide 3 of them, and then we have 5 remaining to be able to take this KO. Now, the follow-up, right? It comes down to finding that Screamtail, which Tord is holding. Research does decide to play the Iono right now, and it does seem like this will be the turn where Tord will finally activate Pedro's gift energy, which he has been sorely lacking after he used up that Luminion to find a Burnett instead of a Research.
Does find the Screamtail yet again. Has Ultra Ball in hand along with the Rare Candy and I believe Collapse Stadium. There's the Psychic Embrace to the active Ralts for the retreat. And here we go. 5 energy to go along with that reversal. And that is going to be enough to take the knockout on that Lugia V-Star. 280 HP.
Now, I will say, once this Gardevoir goes down, Tord does not have any way to draw more cards, except he just found the Refinement Curlia off the prize cards. Also has Avery. The card he's missing is the Luxurious Escape. And yep, Tord very...
And there's the gift energy. Drawing Pedro up to 7.
Yep. Providing a few resources here. I think an Iono could be pretty destructive against Tord. I think Iono would be the way maybe Pedro has a chance in this game. I do believe it's there. Or there's definitely a Luminion, right?
There's Luminion, but I do believe there's an Iono to go along with something like Professor's Research as well.
Because if Tord's hand gets Iono'd, then he will depend on drawing an energy to draw more cards with Radiant Greninja. There will be no more Shining Arcana Gardevoir, there's no Kirlia, so getting that Screamtail to get the last KO will not be easy. However, chooses to boss his orders that Screamtail.
It is a way to kind of force Tord to attack the active Snorlax, but there wasn't really much else in hand. There wasn't Iono, there is Lumineon, but maybe we save that for next turn when Tord is put down to 1 card. But now it's going to have a Refinement Kirlia in play.
And Shining Arcana as well. I mean, yeah, I mean, we'll be able to draw 2 extra cards looking for that boss's orders.
Ultra Ball going to thin down a little bit here. Discarding the Kirlia, but we're going to grab that other Gardevoir, have Rare Candy in hand. That's just 2 more cards here.
Yeah. Boss's orders not available.
Yeah, no boss's orders available. Already used the last Super Rod, so you can't attack with Screamtail again. You're going to have to rely on these 2 Gardevoir going all the way here.
I think you're perfectly fine with this. You take a knockout, and then you have Sasha to clean up, right? So.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there's no threat of Pedro taking 2 prizes. There's no more Arceus, so Pedro can't go boss KO Gardevoir EX to close out the game. I think it all comes down to, I would even preemptively bench the Sasha if I were Tord here, but choosing to play it extra safe at this. I guess, no, after you knock out Snorlax, there's not enough energies for Weirdier to knock out, to go boss KO the Sasha, right?
No, not at all. Yeah, the Weirdier right now is doing 100 damage.
Yep. To see the Luminous Escape, another collapsed, and energy. Not using Greninja, despite having energy, keeping that in case there's a boss on the Greninja, and then we see the knockout here. So it's now the time we see an Iono.
1 prize card for Tord, 2 for Pedro. It's looking a little bit scary. With 1 energy on the Gardevoir already on the bench, you're able to attach 5 more, so
yeah.
6.
That's perfect numbers.
Yeah.
That's 240 damage. The Weirdier will go down, whether it's the active Gardevoir or the bench Gardevoir. If you Iono, it's done and over with. And there we see Pedro recognizing the unwinnable situation he's now in. Tord Reklev walking away with a win.
Round 2, your winner, Tord Reklev, and doing it with Gardevoir in pretty exciting fashion. That game 1.
Game 1 was something else.
Yeah, it was insane. I was wrong, you were wrong. Tord was right, and just stick it out. You know, you always have to believe in your deck and believe the outs that you have. Play to your outs every time, and one person that is amazing at doing that is Tord.
I'm going to give us a little bit of credit in the sense that if there's double Arceus in play, we see a completely different situation. I was not counting on 1 Arceus only hitting play, but did see this game start off with a bang for Pedro, perfect setup, even with quadruple Arceus in the discard pile, but Tord systematically took down Pedro's engine with Screamtail, first Arceus knockout, second Arceus knockout, and that was it.
Super Rod putting in a ton of work, reusing that Screamtail again and again, and then closing things out with that Gardevoir and its Brainwave, being able to just take those big knockouts while only promoting a single prize Pokemon for your opponent to take it.
Yep, and then Tord finishing off the game by making sure there's no possible outs for Pedro to win the game, extending the hand